Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Kyle Sharick, the founder and CEO of TracksNTeeth, an online marketplace for aftermarket heavy construction equipment parts. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Hey, thanks for having me, Malcolm.
Kyle, you grew your company's revenue from $680,000 in 2014 to $2.2 million in 2017, a 224% increase. And in 2018, you hit around 2.4 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. So, like you said, TracksNTeeth is an online marketplace for aftermarket heavy construction parts. And basically what we do is we take vendors with inventory of aftermarket construction parts and connect them with customers who are looking to buy those parts. We're trying to create an e-commerce solution to make it easier, faster, and more efficient for customers to find and buy parts online. And we buy and ship direct from those vendors straight to our customers' doors, trying to make it just a whole lot simpler. So.
And before you came along, how else would people buy these parts?
I mean, really, before we existed, there's a few companies kind of dabbling in some online stuff. There's really the traditional channel's been the OEM equipment dealers. So that's kind of been the main way that most customers would buy these parts.
Okay, so what the value you're bringing to your customers are better selection, easier ordering, quicker ordering. What are the value propositions?
Right. Yeah, on top of selection and ordering, a lot of it is just kind of a focus. The traditional OEM equipment dealers are really disconnected in how they do their part sales. They kind of focus on their OEM brands, and the aftermarket's kind of just an afterthought. So when a customer comes in looking for parts, they want to push and sell their OEM parts because that's what their OEMs want them to do. So what we're doing is creating an alternative purchase channel, providing every option and making it easy on the customer to choose between price or brand or availability, shipping time, whatever's most important. Before, it kind of just varied on whoever they were talking to, whoever that person decided they liked the most or knew that existed, that's who they used. We bring in every vendor option and just let the customer choose.
And you sell aftermarket parts, right? Not necessarily the parts made. Now, is it because the original equipment manufacturers just sell direct themselves to their own channels? Is that why you don't sell their parts as well?
Right. The original OEM dealers are generally the only dealer allowed in their territory to sell parts for OEM equipment. So not only are they, the only one allowed, they're monopolizing that area. So it creates this need for another channel for people to purchase parts.
And for those who aren't in the construction industry, me included, can you define what's meant by heavy construction?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, our main customers are literally buying tracks for bulldozers and excavators. They're contractors, developers, people that are kind of putting up buildings, builders, stuff like that. It's anyone that uses large equipment like that, cranes, anything with tracks on it pretty much is really what our parts are geared at.
Right. So any vehicle that has a track on it, you will sell parts for that vehicle, that machine.
Yeah, pretty generally, exactly.
Okay. And now, are you talking about really large, heavy parts that have a real high ticket price to them, or it might be a small little knob on a gear shifter?
It can be all the above. We've done small nuts and bolts all the way up to tracks for a D11 bulldozer that weighed 15,000 pounds on each side and took a crane to load onto a truck and a crane to offload onto a truck just to get it delivered.
Right. So conceptually, are you kind of like a drop shipper, or do you actually own the inventory as well?
No, we're essentially kind of like a drop shipper. We're taking all these vendors who are not actively online and not kind of going after online channels, as well as, since the dealers aren't doing that, we're trying to create another option to do that. So.
Right. So it's almost conceptually speaking, to make it easier for me and maybe others to understand, you're almost like a marketplace, like how Amazon has third-party sellers that can list on their platform, and it's just a listing service, and the seller takes care of all the shipping.
Exactly. That's actually the end goal. I mean, our end goal is to have every part available with every option for our customer to choose in kind of an online Amazon-like experience. That's the end goal. That's where we want to go. So
got it. Now your business grew pretty fast, 680,000 in 2014, and then 4 years later you're at 2.4 million. So you almost 4x your business. What were the drivers during those 4 years?
The biggest driver by far was just continually reinvesting in our marketing and sales. Our targeted marketing was just online advertising through Google, Yahoo, and Bing. We wanted to find actively searching customers that we knew were looking for what we sold and try to see if we could convert those to prove a market strategy. Mm-hmm. And once we found that and found channels that worked and campaigns that worked and things like that, we just started rapidly scaling those up. The nice thing is that everybody that owns one piece of equipment like a bulldozer usually owns more than one of them. So now about 17% of our sales actually come from repeat customers who are calling back to order other parts for other equipment they own, or even for the same equipment where something else needs to be repaired.
Right. Now, are they buying your product because it's cheaper, or because they can get it faster, or a bit of both?
It's a combination of both. By leveraging every vendor option, we can make it easy for the customer. We usually are giving them options. Most of the time, it's going to be the fastest, lowest cost, and those things kind of collide, especially with how heavy what we sell is. Yep. Our average order is 1,000 pounds, so the farther you ship it, the more it costs.
Yep.
But it's not always the case. Sometimes there's lower cost vendors that have product farther away, or vice versa. And by having every option there, we can really make it easy and make it convenient. Some of our customers just like calling us because they can get 4 options. We can say, here's your fastest, here's your cheapest, here's a brand A, brand B, and let them decide. So.
And I guess the beauty of it is that before, these guys would have to create 4 accounts with 4 different vendors. Now in this particular case, they just create 1 account on your platform and you just buy from however many different vendors you want, right?
Right, exactly. And a lot of times too, most of our competition is a landing page with a phone number where we have thousands of makes and models and over 100,000 part numbers represented on our website that customers can just shop online in an e-commerce experience on top of having customer support behind it.
Right. So how do you handle the payment side of things? Are people just popping 1,000-pound part onto their credit card? Or
100%, yeah, most of the time, yeah. It's kind of most of our 99% of our orders are paid for in advance, either on a credit card, by a wire transfer, or a bank transfer. We've started expanding into some wholesale and that type of market to some of the dealers that also need help with parts. But the majority of our orders are paid for in advance, and that's kind of what allowed our growth. Was we weren't prohibited by cash flow or anything like that, because whenever a customer bought something, they paid for it, and we had those funds available to then order directly from the vendors as well. So.
Right. So that hasn't been a big issue in terms of your customers wanting to be sent an invoice and paying 90 days later.
Not entirely. We've had 1 or 2 kind of larger things that we've decided to turn down because the customer wanted that long. And, I kind of looked at it as like, if they don't want to pay that fast and save the savings that we were offering, then that's their choice. But, we were not entirely in a position to just start being everybody else's bank. We're trying to grow, so I don't want to tie capital up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a headache having to chase these folks down if they don't pay on time, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I hear you. I mean, even for my own business, I always take payment in advance because it just eliminates all the worries down the line.
Yeah, no, that's what we do. We have orders where we build tracks, and those can take a week or 2 to ship. But even to get those in line, we tell the customer, got to pay for it. That's how you tie your inventory. That's how you tie it up. Otherwise, we might sell it to someone else, or someone else might too. So
yeah, definitely. Fair enough.
Nobody really complains. We create that expectation right from the beginning of here's what we can do, and here's how we take payment, and here's how we do business, and that's your choice how you want to do it. And obviously, our customers have been reacting pretty well to it. So.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is their choice, and it's how you do business. And if you're not a good fit, you're not a good fit, right? They can, go direct to the aftermarket vendor and say they'll give you a line of credit to buy with.
Exactly, and that is part of what we tell. We get we try to differentiate ourselves, and my dealer will give me credit, or these guys will give me terms, and it's like, great, here's what we're doing that's different, and here's how we're different, and here's why we're different. And one of the things we do that's different is we make the customers pay for it. Just, it's part of the necessity of doing business. And a lot of the times our savings, especially on an aftermarket part, we're 30 to 70% less than the OEM dealer. So if you want to pay double to the dealer and put it on your terms and get credit, that's fine. Or you can pay half to us and use your credit card.
Yeah. What's the quality of aftermarket versus OEM in your opinion?
I mean, the quality I think is pretty good from what we see. Our customers come back and they're generally pretty pleased with it. There are only so many factories making anything in any industry in the world, and a lot of the times some of the same factories that are producing an aftermarket with their own name on it, a lot of those are producing the branded stuff with the branded names on it, similar to what we're seeing in other categories. So most of the good ones, they're meeting and exceeding OEM spec. That's how our parts work. So
right. So it sounds like the aftermarket market for industrial commercial parts is quite different from the aftermarket for consumer products then.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I mean, I've had my share of no name branded stuff you buy, and you save 10, 20, 30%, but then you end up buying it again much more rapidly, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some cases where the OEM makes sense. Some super, we have high production customers that are doing super high volume mining or something like that, and they only use OEM dealers, and that's their choice, and they can afford to do that, and they've tried other things and it just didn't work for their application. Being that what we're working with is so big and so heavy and it's steel on steel, there's some places where it definitely doesn't make sense. But the majority of our customers, especially, it makes total sense for them. They're not doing high production. They're single owner operators, smaller businesses trying to save money. So
yeah, you make or break your business.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first driver you shared with me, you reinvested heavily in your marketing and sales. It sounded like you were using pay-per-click ads to generate your business. Cool.
We are.
How about drivers number 2 and number 3?
The main driver has been that organic traffic's definitely been big for us. We did a website redesign and lost some organic and finally got that back, and we saw a huge kind of dip and then regain. That's part of why our 2018 sales wasn't as big as it should have been. But organic traffic's been a big too. Part of the reason we have 100,000 part numbers is if somebody types a part number into an online website, into any search, we're one of the only ones to show up because we're one of the only ones listing all the available numbers we can get from our vendors online for sale. So that's another big driver for us. And then we get a lot of repeat referral business too. This is a small niche industry. Everybody talks to everybody. So we get people calling in all the time, that you sold to my buddy or you sold to these guys and we do business with them. Our machine broke and they told us to call you, and that makes it really easy too. So that's been a big driver too.
Okay. So just to recap, the drivers 2, 3, and 4. 1, you're getting organic traffic coming back through the site. You have a wide inventory, and you're getting referral business as well.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what percentage of all the potential parts out there can I buy through your site?
Oh, that's a good question. It's kind of, we're targeted in certain niches, so there's things we do really well and things we don't really get into, but it's probably maybe 10 or 15% or something, maybe total of what's out there.
Okay.
But
and how many items is that?
Like I said, right now we're at 103,000 items on our website, and we probably have access to closer to 250,000 different part numbers or something that we offer through vendors.
Right. So if you're guesstimating that you have 10% of all the parts out there, it's kind of mind-boggling that there might be 2.5 million different parts out there.
Yeah, that might even be low because I've talked to vendors where they have 1 million part numbers by themselves. But
so now your system for tracking all the inventory, is it homegrown or is there some off-the-shelf software you're able to buy and modify to help you do this?
No, we looked at off-the-shelf systems, and the end result was we basically built our own proprietary database. And part of the reason we did that was because we're also dealing with all the part numbers and the fact that in aftermarket parts, a single part number can point to 5 different aftermarket numbers and 10 different OEM part numbers. And then those all point to different makes and models of machines. So we wanted to build something that would allow a customer to search and be able to find stuff that way and let us leverage all the data we're aggregating. So we had to do that. So that's what we did.
Right. So when people are shopping for products, is it pretty much only one part that's available to meet their needs, or do they have a choice of different rubber tracks that might work for their machine, and then they will check out the reviews and those sort of things before making a purchase?
Yeah, it's not really, reviews aren't, yeah, there's usually only kind of like one part number is the same across the board. There's some different things like rubber tracks, there's some applications, or even in steel tracks, there's some different various things where it's based on an application, a usage, like a forestry machine versus a bulldozer or an excavator that's out in the field might want wider tracks to be on a swamp versus an excavator in the forest wants narrower tracks to get between trees. Like there's a little bit of that, but in general, it's kind of this one thing works, and then here's all the vendors that you can pick from.
Mm-hmm. All right, interesting. Now, what's the most interesting, most unique, most unusual product you sell? From a layman's perspective.
I mean, I think in general, I think it's just the fact that we're selling tracks for bulldozers on the internet is a pretty interesting thing. That's really how I describe it to most people.
It is interesting.
Driving down the road, that track on there on both sides, that's the main thing we sell.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is kind of interesting. I think.
Is there a particular type of track for a particular application that's that most people won't even imagine that they even exist?
There's stuff that the most interesting or most oddball thing we run into is even the fact that like our tracks are used in conveyors that are used in manufacturing, and they're used in equipment that's used in a lot of other places that we don't think about necessarily. So we'll get a call from someone out of the blue with a part number, and you know, they're buying something that we know goes on a bulldozer, and they have some giant conveyor line in manufacturing they're using to automate a warehouse or something, and it has these bulldozer parts as part of the conveyor. And
that's very
not
interesting.
something we've tapped into, but it's something we've started trying to figure out how we can get into those markets.
That's interesting. So someone was just creative and said, we need a conveyor belt and we need something that has this. And they said, hey, you know, this tractor, this tractor track will work for us. Is that how it came to be?
Kind of, yeah. It's, you know, they needed a way to make a conveyor system that does, you know, moves a bunch of stuff along some production line. And it was like, well, the easiest thing is there's these tracks for bulldozers already, and you know, we can make this thing that acts as a conveyor top and bolt it to these bulldozer tracks and just run them really far, and all of a sudden you have this weird custom machine, and now they're selling tons of them. But as we started, yeah, it's interesting.
That is interesting. Now, is there a standard for tracks where the gears and the sprockets are X distance apart, so you could interchange the tracks relatively easily?
Yeah, there's across the board, there's a lot of different machines where parts interchange, and that's part of what's interesting about the database that we built is we're making it easier to figure out, like, okay, this part interchanges across these machines, and now we're looking at what applications can we use that for, because if an OEM dealer would know that their branded part could fit on someone else's branded machine, they could then sell it too, even though, you know, technically they may not have that data with our database. They'd be able to figure that out. So we're trying to figure out how to leverage that, how to use that data, and how to get more of that type of data. So.
Right. Very cool. Going back to your drivers a little bit. So you talk about reinvesting in your marketing and sales. So when you first got started, were you really bootstrapping and just ran some ads and people who said, yeah, I want to buy this track, and then you manually went about finding a vendor and getting it done? Oh yeah,
100%. I mean, when I first started, I probably was spending $10 a day on online advertising. I think I started the company with $1,000. That was all I had in the bank. That was my startup capital. And we've bootstrapped and cash flowed it to get to the point where we are. So at that point, I think I was doing $10 a day in ads, and we're at, I don't know, $700 or $800 a day now in ads. But you know, we'd get a few phone calls and a few clicks and somebody looking for one thing, and I'd kind of go out and do what we're doing now, only on a much smaller scale. And as we started converting that, we just started starting to ramp that up as capital became more available, and we started realizing, like, if I invest in this, the money's going to come back. We're not going to spend a bunch of money and not get anything from it. So
yeah, good. You're getting a good ROI, right? So
that's right. Yeah,
it's logical to keep on ramping it up until your ROI gets too low. That's not worth it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did. So we started there and then slowly started ramping, and we just kept kind of doing that. And then,
so how do you get this idea of doing what you're doing? It's, I can see the opportunity there, but I don't think I ever would have thought of it.
Yeah, so I actually worked for a manufacturer that was manufacturing flooring, and they were also it was a China-based company, and I was their international sales rep for Europe and North America, and I was selling stuff direct from the factory in volume container sales. But they also had inventory in a couple warehouses, and they were running an online website, drop shipping, and drop shipping flooring from these two warehouses, West Coast and East Coast, all over the U.S. And I'd sit in their meetings, and I just kind of started looking at it going, someone should do this with parts. Someone should do this with there's all these vendors out there. There's all these options. I had a background in parts sales before that. I was a regional sales rep for a parts distributor, and I was also a sales rep for a Caterpillar dealer selling actual bulldozers to customers. So I have a background in the industry and a background in manufacturing, distribution, and retail, and so on. And I just kind of started going, and I started thinking about it and kind of put the idea together. And that turned into me putting buying a domain, putting a few website part numbers up, and a few years later, I decided to try and give it a go and started selling stuff.
So it was a part-time gig for you at the start then.
At the start, it was uncertain. I didn't know what was going to come of it. It was an idea I had, and I tried to tinker with a few other ones. I had another business idea that didn't really work out, and I always wanted to start my own company, so I was just always trying to find different things to try and different ways to maybe see if I can make something work. And the thing with this was I started turning things on, and customers started converting fairly quickly, and it just clicked, like, okay, this is an idea that's obviously got some legs behind it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the parts industry is enormous, right? And you're just
right.
I mean, you're just a sprinkle right now, right? Not even a drop. I think it must be, hundreds of millions, if not billions, of annual sales of parts, I would imagine.
Yeah, just the vendors we have, we know that the size of what we target is probably a $5 or $6 billion industry in the U.S. alone, and then worldwide it's 5 to 7 times that, and the same type of networks exist. So it's a very large opportunity, and the OEM opportunity is even bigger than that. So we kind of look at how can we leverage all these different things to try and see how much of that opportunity we can get.
Yeah, very cool. Now, for your second driver, you talk about organic traffic. How much of your business is coming from organic traffic versus your paid ads campaigns?
It's a good question. Something that's been tough to measure, but I kind of look at overall business, and then I look at overall traffic, and
yep.
What we see is, we see probably 30 or 40% of our traffic is organic, and we also know that an organic visitor converts at a much higher rate than a paid visitor, because they're finding something super relevant to them, and they're purposefully searching it too. So, and then we also saw when our website got rebuilt and we lost a bunch of that traffic, our traffic went down, and so did our sales kind of with it. Like it ramped nearly as quickly,
You think it's because was your site down for some time and people just kind of lost trust in it, or?
No, we weren't down, but we did a redesign, and when we did that, we kind of, we lost a lot of the organic juice we had, and then we had the secondary thing we had was Google also came out with that update that they came out with. I think it was in June or July, where they started retooling how they treated thin pages.
Okay.
And we have 100,000 part number pages that all kind of look the same.
Yep.
A part number with a description, a cost, a weight, and a checkout button, and that's about it. And because of most of our products are coming from vendors that we're not there, we don't have the inventory, so we don't have photos of everything. So
yep.
Google knocked out a lot of those too, and that we saw we saw that traffic declining as our sales were kind of ramping, but then our organic was going down at the same time. So it was a combination of those things.
Right. So has it come back to the pre-website redesign levels yet?
It's getting closer. Yeah, we've started doing some things to try and get Google to re-index pages and all those kind of things. And in doing that, that's been ramping up our daily impressions and daily clicks and stuff. And we're seeing that as a result in sales, as we're pacing to have a record month this month. But we'll see if we get there.
Yeah, kind of interesting how you mentioned how the organic traffic converts better than pay-per-click traffic. I would have thought it's the other way around.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something I heard from something that seemed like, but
I mean, because potentially, unless you had the tracking technology installed, potentially your organic traffic might have been coming from previous people who found you through pay-per-click campaigns to begin with, right? But they didn't buy at that time.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, so
it's always nice not to pay for them again, too.
Yeah, that's true too. Are you doing a lot of email marketing so that you can market to them again without paying for it?
We definitely. So that's another thing we added. We quote out probably 5 times plus what we close every month in terms of our revenue. So we close maybe 15 or 20% of what we quote out. But one of the things I figured out real quick was we had to have some sort of software behind it, just doing email drip. So we added an email drip that kind of goes automatic off our quoting tool, and that way we have an extra kind of layer there behind our sales team of just, hey, we remember this, we talked to you, here's your thing, try to buy it from us. And we've seen some good uptick in that too, because even if we're not in front of the customer, we're still in front of the customer.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So that when we turned that on maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, and it wasn't super costly comparatively to everything we were doing,
yep.
But it definitely pays for itself every single month.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's one of the things we've been doing, and now we're actually trying to look at how can we get more. Not necessarily how can we get more in front of our customer in a better way, yep. And what can we do to make them convert at a higher percentage rate, both on the website and through what we're quoting. So those are yep. Some of the things we're tinkering with right now.
Yeah. One thing that we've done before for our clients, if they had a bit of excess inventory in something that they wanted to lighten up on, right? And you probably do this as well if you work with your vendors, right? Someone who's got too much of one particular part of some sort. And if your list was targeted and segmented well enough, right, you can make a special offer to those people to help your vendor reduce their inventory and for you to do some transactions at the same time.
Right. Yeah, we've developed some tools to do that, and that's one of the things we're trying to. We also built a fleet manager for our customers to add their equipment data, and we have this tool that maps parts to equipment models. So what we're trying to do now is figure out a way to get customers to adopt that so that we can start sending segmented email campaigns based on, we know you own this machine because you either got a quote or bought parts for it. Here's everything else we sell for it. Because that's our biggest challenge is we have all this huge offering across a wide array of stuff. And then there's a lot of things we can't do because they're only available through the dealer. But how do we convey that message to our customer in a meaningful way and make sure they know that, hey, if you're looking for these things, you can definitely come to us.
Yeah. Now, for these heavy machinery, do they have like VIN numbers like a regular consumer car has? And if you pull up the VIN, you have all the details of the car?
Kind of, yeah. They have serial numbers, but a lot of that data is really, it's still the equipment dealer, the specific dealer, if it's a John Deere or Caterpillar or whoever it is, they can do that and they can pull it up. It's harder for someone like us to do it.
Yeah, it's not in their interest to share that database with you, right?
No, we keep asking and they keep saying no.
Yeah, one day when you're 100 times bigger, they might change your mind and say, yeah, I think it might be a good idea to work with tracks and stuff, TracksNTeeth.
Yeah.
All right. For number 3, wide inventory. I know you said before that you're covering 10 to 15% of what's out there. How much do you want to ultimately have in your database?
I mean, our goal, we see a couple different opportunities. I mean, the aftermarket parts in general is a big opportunity. But the other thing we see is there's a ton of used parts is an even bigger industry for us than aftermarket would be for heavy equipment. People are always looking for especially larger ticket items. they don't want to buy it new, and they don't want to buy it out new from the OEM or the aftermarket. They want to find a machine that caught on fire, but the hydraulics are still good, or this big cylinder is still good, or whatever they're looking for. So we're trying to figure out ways to get all these other used equipment companies that are just a landing page with a phone number, and try to get them to come on our platform, because then we can have every part offered for sale in one place. And that's a way to expand our product offering and expand the inventory available without, while making it still a better experience for our customer. So.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting business. I hadn't even thought about the used heavy machinery in the market there.
Yeah, it's big too. So it's harder though, because those places, they don't even, half the time they don't even know what they have in their inventory. They just know they tore a machine down 20 years ago and it's sitting out there, and you send a request and some guy literally walks out and writes down, yeah, we got that thing, or no, we don't. So it's a challenge to try and make them go digital.
Yeah. I almost kind of imagine that you might be able to get some inspiration, some ideas as to what you can do from, looking at the consumer market, right? Used car parts, used cars. Seems like there might be some corollaries that we can transition to your market. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're kind of trying to do. We're looking at industries like that. We're looking at things like, anything where they've got parts, and just in industries that are heavy parts and service driven industries, of how they're doing it. And cars is the big one. So they've been one of the, we've been trying to see what other people are doing with that and trying to figure out how to leverage that.
Yeah. For your referral business, are you doing anything proactively to get the referrals?
We've got part of that email drip is kind of, we do send a request back out for like a customer review just in general about us, rate our service, how good was our pricing, how good was your shipping, how was your experience overall, kind of thing. We're doing that to just try to get reviews on the website, because reviews in an e-commerce, part reviews are tough for us, because we'll sell somebody 20,000 parts, on an order. So it might be hard for them to review every single item.
Yeah.
But, they can at least review how their overall experience was and say, this was a great experience and here's why. I got my stuff fast. It was a good deal, and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we're trying to leverage those kind of things. So we send out, part of that email drip that we're doing is somebody that does convert on an order. Hey, who do you know? Recommend people to us. We've been talking about trying to find new ways to try to generate more referral type business, and possibly even starting to do, things that, giving people credits for referrals or whatever it is, to try and generate more of that. So.
Cool. Yeah. Referrals are fantastic, right?
Yeah.
They convert really well in terms of,
yeah, they do. I think I don't think we very often get someone that calls and said they had their buddy tell them to call us that doesn't end up ordering,
Yeah.
Pretty much they always end up converting. So.
Yep.
And a lot of times they end up referring more people because they convert, have a good experience, and they're like, well, so.
Yeah, I can really build on it stuff, especially in your market where finding the right parts can be challenging.
Yeah, definitely.
So looking a bit forward for 2019, say we're talking a year from now, a year later, what in your mind has to have happened for you to be happy with the results? Maybe we can start with the challenges and obstacles. What challenges, obstacles, problems have you solved, have you eliminated over the past year that makes you happy?
Some of the main ones have been just being able to make our site experience better. For the longest time we were just a landing page. We had the parts number search. You could put a number in, but 90% of our customers don't know what part numbers they need. They might know what equipment model they own. It'd be like searching for parts for your car. You know what car you own.
Yeah.
But you probably don't. You don't know the part number for this doohickey on this knob, right?
Yep.
So we tried to improve that by adding tools for chatting and tools for, we extended every make and model we could find out there, and then we extended all of our categories out there and made so the customer could at least find a category and click on it, and it'll automatically pop up a chat that says, hey, I'm looking for this part number for this machine from this category. And then we can chat with them and get the info they need. And that was a huge challenge, because what we found was people would go to our website and just bounce off, right? Because it's like anything. If you can't find what you need, you click around a little bit and you're like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere else. So,
Yep.
so for us, that was a huge win. I think we doubled the number of quotes since we started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Losing our organic search was big for me. And now that we've started to fix that, I think we've seen like a 30 or 40% increase in our online orderings, and so that makes me feel better. We don't have too many people that'll put their credit card in for $15,000 worth of parts into our website, but we do get orders that are pretty substantial, and we do have people that search for stuff and just place orders, and we're trying to make it more convenient and more easy as our competition makes it harder. So
Yeah. Are people placing orders over the phone with you then instead of doing it online?
a lot of it is, a lot of it's kind of that online. They come to us online, they're searching around, they see like, hey, this place looks like they might have what I need. And we're trying to make it easy as we can for them to either, if they want to shop on their own, but there's kind of assistance behind that and customer service behind that if they can't find it.
Okay.
What we don't, so a lot of it is converting over the phone, but we're trying, and that's been one of the big challenges as we try to scale and ramp more. If we 10 or 20 times our sales, I can't have, every single order being a manual online over the phone thing. We've definitely got to continue to figure out ways to ramp that, because that's super, it's just a lot slower process otherwise. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have the capability now to place orders online, or do they still call your team?
Yeah, we do now, and now we've added. So some of the things we've added are the ability for us to send a convertible quote, where we send a quote that the customer can just click on and check out online. Before we were just sending a PDF and that was it. So now they can actually they can look at their quote on the website and just convert it.
Right. They can just
like
do
that.
the transaction.
Yeah. So we've seen a bump in our conversion rates since we started doing that.
Okay. So. Yeah, it makes sense. Anything that makes it easier, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly it.
And probably over time they'll get more comfortable doing transactions without having to contact your team. Yeah,
I think so too. People, we still see if they have part numbers, they just convert, and those are usually smaller ones, which makes sense. I mean, somebody buying a $300 or $400 item online that, if it gets there and it's right, then they're probably maybe they'll try next time. But if they're spending $15,000 and their whole machine's going to come down for a week and they're going to schedule service and take something that makes them a lot of money down, they want to know they're finding a company that's reputable, that's going to deliver in the time frame, and the parts are going to actually get there. And so we're trying to give the best front end experience that way,
right,
and make it most convenient. So
it sounds like your biggest challenge is improving the user experience, make it easier for them to buy, and make them easier for them to buy it without human interaction.
Yeah, that's been a lot of the focus.
Yep. Now, how about in terms of getting more people to your site? Is that a big challenge for you?
It is, and part of the challenge with that is the fact that the industry is just it's such an old school kind of an industry. It's, they don't even, I think a lot of our customers don't even think about going online to buy parts for machines. We get calls all the time where people call us and I'm looking for this. They found us online. Yeah, here, we've got it. It's here. It's this price. I can have it to you then. And wow, you just ship that to me? It's, yeah, you do it with milk and bread. Why can't you do it with, tracks for your excavator? It's the same thing. It's
right.
I mean, it's not, but it is for us. We're set up to do that. So that's the biggest thing, is just conveying that it can be done and getting that customer to find us. We're finding, we're definitely converting the online customer, and now we're trying to figure out how do we get the 99% of the customers that exist out there that aren't online yet, or aren't thinking about shopping online. So that's the next challenge.
Right. Is it an age thing, you think?
I think that's part of it. I mean, we're starting to see, as our customer base gets, a lot of it is family-run businesses and things like that. And as our customer base starts to get a little older and the younger generation start to take over, we're definitely seeing more online shopping, more online ordering. A lot of our customers that call in, if they're, someone that's got a little more wisdom in their years, most of the time they found us because their friend's son or their neighbor's son or their grandson or something like that found us online and gave our info to them.
Right.
So
I like how you put that. A little bit more wisdom in their years.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's a good. I'll describe myself as becoming more wise going forward now.
exactly. Well, you are.
That's true. How about in terms of opportunities? You talked about a few opportunities already that in 2019, are there any particular you want to really capture? Like the used car one, is that something that you think you might do in 2019, or is that a longer term opportunity?
Yeah, I think that one's longer term. Immediate opportunities. We're trying to kind of develop an outbound strategy to combine with our incoming online advertising. Trying to target kind of more the medium large, or what you call like an enterprise type customer.
Hmm.
Finding, getting data. We have access to data sources to tell us companies that have bought equipment and how much equipment they bought and when they buy it and things like that. And so we can see this company owns these machines and how many of each. And so now it's like, okay, we have this great lead list. So let's start targeting some of these larger medium opportunities, similar to like a enterprise type approach. So we're
Hmm.
trying to do that now. The other thing we're doing is 35% of our orders actually come from the wholesale part of the business. And that's like basically the dealers that we compete against. A lot of them end up using us because we're more convenient,
Oh,
or
really?
they don't know who to call. They search online, they find us, we send them a quote and they just buy. So we're
Interesting.
like, yeah, so there's this huge wholesale opportunity with our marketplace. And they're the ones that already have the customer relationship and the outside sales teams we can leverage. So one of the other initiatives we have right now is trying to find strategic partnerships and ways that we can leverage what we do well, which is our e-commerce and our online shopping and our fulfillment, and maybe couple that with the dealers that already have access to the customers, know who they are, have the relationships,
Yep.
and they try to marry those for a lot faster, more rapid expansion. So we're testing that out actually we're testing a few different things with a few different strategic partners on that too.
Hmm. Now, these wholesaler dealers, they are wholesale, they're buying from you wholesale and they are selling aftermarket parts themselves. Is that what they do?
Yeah, I mean a lot of the no, well, so really what these are is these are the John Deere and Caterpillar and Komatsu dealers that traditionally we would technically be competing against, but they still have challenges too. They don't, a lot of the times they don't even have their own e-commerce parts solution where the customer can just shop online on their
Uh-huh.
website. Some of that's provided by some of the Caterpillar does that, but not all the other equipment manufacturers do. And even
Okay.
Caterpillar says we want to get out of the kind of technology business. We just want to build bulldozers and send those to the dealers. So, dealers are starting to see they need to kind of band together and find their own things that they can do to leverage and grow their businesses. So
Right.
they
Okay. So these OEM dealers, their customers sometimes need parts and they may want a less expensive alternative and they'll go to you to help with that.
right, exactly. Or even, sometimes it's less expensive. Also, sometimes it's competing brands. A lot of times these dealerships might have one or two brands of equipment they can sell parts for,
Hmm.
but then all the other ones they're
Ah,
not they're not an OEM for, so they're in the same boat as everybody else that isn't an OEM. So they
right.
can still offer service and they can still help that customer. And a lot of that relationship is a lot of that business is relationship built. They like doing business with this dealer or that dealer, whoever it is, or they just they have credit, or there's something going on that makes them want to choose to use that over somebody else.
Right.
And what we're seeing is part of the reason we can exist is because of the challenges these dealers have. But as we're selling to end user customers, we're actually solving a lot of the challenges the dealers have too. So
Yes.
we're looking at, can we scale faster at a maybe lower overall margin, but a quicker, less costly scaling solution by partnering with them.
Right.
So we're kind
And
of testing that.
yeah, and plus, by increasing your volume, it helps you build up your database, right?
It
And
helps us, yeah, it helps us build our database. It helps us drive down pricing from our vendors. It helps us get new access to new vendors because they see the volumes that we're doing and the types of volumes we can get.
yep.
If we had every dealer on our network, it's really easy to go to a new vendor and go, look, you come to us, you have 1,000 dealers who, place 5,000 orders a day on our marketplace kind of a
Yeah.
thing. That would be real. Someone saying no to that would probably not really understand what we were doing, but
Yeah.
so that's
Very
kind of
cool.
what we envisioned. Yeah.
How about some strengths that your business has now that you would like to leverage further over the next year?
Our biggest strength is still just it's really the fact that we've kind of figured out our e-commerce, and so that's some of the stuff we're exploring too. We're exploring strategic partnerships with other industry type companies that maybe aren't doing parts but other things, and taking our e-commerce experience and extending it to them as another way to look at trying to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Get access to new customer bases and new markets, because our biggest strengths is the way that we're online already, the database we've developed and things like that. So we're looking at how to turn those into more valuable resources for us, and how to turn those into more more margin and more volume for the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah, just from what you shared so far, I think one of your strengths, your company's strength, is just a willingness to test and try different things as well.
Certainly is. I'm definitely not scared to do that. We did get lucky, and we've raised a nice investment round, which helped about a year ago. And one of the things they were interested in and thought was interesting about us was the fact that we'll test different things. I'm not scared to try anything, at least for a little while, and see if it works. But I'm also not scared to just squash it immediately if it doesn't look like it's worthwhile or the ROI isn't there. Because that's the only way you're going to figure out things that work or don't work.
Yeah. So why did you decide to raise capital a year ago?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. The biggest reason was that we're real good at sales, and technology we need some help with. So my thing is, do what you're strong at and find people that can help you with what you're not so strong at, right? So
Yep.
we knew we needed help in technology. We knew we had this great idea and this vision of what we wanted to build, but I'm not an engineer, and neither are anybody else here. So we went out to try to find some capital to help us develop the back end and develop the database that would drive kind of what our vision is going forward for the company. And we knew it would take some capital to do that. So
Yep.
And we knew it was a good time to do that because we were starting to grow, and we're trending really well. So it just it made sense to, okay, let's go out and try to kind of push us up to the next level. And so that's why we did that.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, you have an opportunity there, and you have competitors out there, right? If you don't grab it, someone else possibly can, and you lose out on the opportunity.
Right. Well, exactly. And we also knew we would only go so far, on kind of bootstrapped technology from non-technical backgrounds.
Yeah.
I can string together a basic website, and I can do a lot of different things. And I've learned a ton about pay-per-click and running advertising that way, and gotten pretty good at that side of it. But from a development standpoint, eventually we wanted to build a platform that's going to need to run our business, and that definitely was a need. And so that's why I did that.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely. 3 last questions for you. If TracksNTeeth were to have a billboard on a freeway somewhere out there, what would your billboard message be? And keep in mind that typically people only see a billboard for 6 seconds before they drive by. So what's your 6-second billboard message?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really it's really a combination of our exactly what we do, our TracksNTeeth online marketplace for aftermarket parts. We would have something like that, and then we kind of have a catchphrase: the right part, the right price every day. So we kind of say, we know we're going to get you the right thing. We know it's going to be a good cost, and whether you come today or tomorrow, we're going to be able to help you with that. So
right.
That's kind of been our strategy and our motto, and kind of something we've had on our website since day one. Because that's what, if somebody just landed there real quick and left, that's what I want them to remember is like, we've got parts, we've got what you're looking for, and we'll get it right and get it to you. So,
yep. Yeah, it makes sense, especially in your market where it's hard to find parts at a decent price. So
can be, yeah.
Yeah. 2 last questions for you. Who are your ideal customers, and what's the best way for them to contact your company or to check out your site and see what's available?
Yeah, so our ideal customer is really anyone that owns and operates heavy equipment. You know, if it's a contractor, a developer, a landowner, anyone with a bulldozer, excavator, whether it's compact or mini or anything like that. If it has steel or rubber tracks on it, we probably offer parts for it. You know, the easiest way to find us is on our website at TracksNTeeth.com, or even, you know, our sales at TracksNTeeth email is another way to do it. But both those ways are good ways to find us. So.
Okay. Would you like to spell out your website?
Yeah, so it's the word tracks, Tracks, the letter N like November, and the word teeth, Teeth. So TracksNTeeth.com.
All right. And your sales email, is it simply sales@TracksNTeeth.com?
Yeah, you got it. And they can even call we've got a local number that we use, and everybody has long distance on their cell phones and everything now. So they can also call us at 206-486-4995, and one of my sales team or even me will probably pick that phone up pretty quickly.
All right. So how do you guys choose the name TracksNTeeth? TracksNTeeth.
I wanted to be real obvious about what we sell. And so, you know, I've talked about selling tracks a lot. Teeth are kind of interesting, but teeth are essentially, for people that don't know, on the end of an excavator, they have a bucket. That's what digs. And the part that hits the ground and breaks it is called a tooth or teeth. So you know, anything that, there's a whole category of wear parts called ground engaging, and it's bucket teeth and edges on bulldozers and motor graders and other things like that. So we kind of wanted to convey the main stuff that we sell and the main types of parts. You know,
right, makes sense.
Easier. Yeah.
Have you ever used these heavy machinery yourself? Are you an expert at handling them?
I can get in one, turn it on, and run around a little bit. I did spend, you know, like I said, I spent 2 years right after I graduated from college. You know, and I graduated from college with a degree in mathematics, which is real helpful when you're trying to run a bulldozer.
Right. Yeah, I remember I was at a construction site, so watching some guy. I'm not sure what kind of machine it was, some sort of thing like you talked about, the excavator with a bucket at the end of teeth. And man, those guys, it's like an extension of their arm, of their hand. They're just so accurate and graceful with what they were doing, right? It's like so confident, just grab stuff, move it from one place to another, just like that. It's amazing what they are.
No, it certainly is. I mean, so like when I was an equipment sales rep, they kind of, you know, they did kind of like a 101 crash course on here's how you turn it on and move it around. And, you know, I'd have some of my customers when I'd go to a job site to do a demo, they'd kind of, you know, show me how to use it. And I'd look at them and go, here, you take the keys, you show me how to use it. You're the guy buying the thing. Why don't you get in it? You know? But I mean, so I could run it a little bit, but they definitely don't want me trying to grade a job site or dig out a trench or anything like that, because that's you know, I could do it, but it would not look pretty at the end.
Yeah, it won't be too even there.
No.
Kyle, it's been awesome having you on my show today. I really enjoyed hearing how you grew your company so fast.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, Malcolm.
We've been speaking with Kyle Sharick, the founder and CEO of TracksNTeeth, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.